just as the mist of frosting hit and I choked on a laugh. "Oh, my goddess, you look like you have chicken pox all over again." "Ella," she whined. "Sorry," I said with a wince. "I guess I should have said duck." "You think?" Candace sighed and reached for a towel to wipe off her face. Of the three of us, she was the fashion queen. And even when clocking in for a cookie decorating shift, she wore a full face of makeup, along with her trendy designer clothes. Most of the time, she worked the front counter, so her fancy attire wasn't quite as out of place. But still, it was a bakery. As for me, I normally worked in the baking department and steered clear of anything involving frosting. But today we were short-staffed, and with the deluge of orders coming in for Christmas, it was all hands on deck. Jasmine, who normally stayed in the office doing paperwork most of the day, had recruited both Candace and me to help decorate gingerbread cookies, citing our experience back when we'd been little kids at home for winter break, which, considering how things ended, actually seemed appropriate. We'd basically reverted back to elementary school somewhere in the past 5 minutes. I decided to blame it on the 4 shots of espresso I'd had in my latte earlier that morning. Popping a marshmallow into my mouth, I stood up from my squatting position and laughed at the mess of gumdrops, sprinkles, marshmallows, and frosting splatter. CSI Charlie and the Chocolate Factory edition. Jasmine giggled. "I'm going to get the broom." "What in the goddess's name is going on back here?" My smile turned impish at the alarmed voice of Blanche Mountain Spring, the head of the baking department, a.k.a. my boss. "She started it," Candace declared, pointing at me, her face still streaked with red icing. "Gee, thanks, Candy. And they say blood is thicker than water." Candace gave me a confused look, then pivoted on her heels with a haughty sigh and stalked off to get cleaned up. "We'll get this cleaned up," I told Blanche, a gnome-sized fairy. "I should be able to jump back to baking the last 2 hours of my shift. We only have a few more trays to go." I grimaced slightly as I glanced over my shoulder at the completed cookies. "Just need to do a little bit of, touch-up work, that's all." Blanche took one more look around the decorating department, her wings fluttering. "Right. Well, I actually came back here to tell you there's someone asking for you up front." "Oh?" I nodded as I reached for the end of my braid. "Okay. Be there in a sec." With a solemn nod, the fairy flew from the room, back to the baking department. Sugar Shack was a full-service bakery, with everything made on site, fresh daily. Cakes, cookies, pies, bread, rolls, pastries, you name it, we sell it. The place had been in my father's family for decades before he was handed the reins. These days, my father worked full-time in his workshop, along with my maternal grandmother, Grandma Rose, and left the bulk of the bakery's operations to my sister Jasmine. I'd only returned home to Winterspell 6 weeks ago, following a series of personal disasters that left me all but homeless and down to my last $20 bill. I was crashing at my parents' house until I could figure out my next move, and working at the bakery to earn my keep. This time of year, Sugar Shack was at its busiest, with orders pouring in not only from Winterspell, but also from residents in other magical communities who'd grown an affinity for the shop on a visit to Winterspell, the enchanted lakeside town where I'd grown up and lived until I turned 23. The town was near Wenatchee, Washington, though it was kept concealed from humans. No non-magical people were allowed past the charms, wards, and sentinels who patrolled the town's bordering forest where it rubbed up against the human side of things. "Sorry, Blanche," Jasmine called over her shoulder as she came back into the room, broom in hand. She shot me a sheepish grin and began sweeping. "Good thing Mom wasn't here." I barked a laugh. "No kidding. Listen, I'll be right back." "Oh, I see how it is," Jasmine replied, leveling me with a stare. "You skip right off as I start cleaning." "To be fair, you did most of this damage," I told her, flashing a grin before slipping out toward the front counter. Large order racks blocked most of the line of sight from the back of the bakery to the front, so I wasn't sure who to expect. But I imagined I would find my good friend Matty O'Lear waiting on me. Hopefully, he'd brought me something yummy to eat for lunch. However,